What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time we're taking a look at Frequency, starring Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel. Frequency tells the story of this character named John Sullivan, who for the last 30 years of his life has been haunted by the death of his firefighter father, until one day he finds a ham radio which allows him to talk to his father back in 1968. Back in 1969, sorry. And that's pretty much the overall plot line of the movie. Of course, there's a lot more with Frequency, so let's waste no time. Let's talk about it. I overall like Frequency. I've liked this movie for for about 20 years now. I remember seeing this movie in theaters when it first came out. I really, really liked it then, and I still like it now. I think this is a very underrated movie. This is a good old. This is a good old fashioned thriller type of movie that's backed by two really strong leads, being Dennis Quaid and Jim Caviezel. I think they both play father and son, Frank and Johnny Sullivan, and I thought they played their roles really, really, really well. I'm a fan of Dennis Quaid's work. I like him as an actor. This was actually my first exposure to memory that I can remember seeing Dennis Quaid in, and I thought he was really, really good in this movie. I like him as Frank Sullivan. He comes across as just a good old fashioned New York boy who loves his family, loves baseball, enjoys his job. And it really shows when you watch this movie that he comes across as just a very likable family man. He doesn't have no checkered history, no checkered past. And that's what I like about the character of Frank Sullivan, is that he's one of the good guys in this movie. Like he's just a down to earth guy. And then on the other hand, you have Jim Caviezel, who plays Johnny Sullivan. Johnny Sullivan, on the other hand, he's got demons that he's wrestling with. He's an alcoholic. His relationships are falling apart, all because 30 years prior, he lost his dad in a tragic fire event, and it pretty much destroyed, pretty much made him just a recluse in a way. And I like how Jim Caviezel balances that out. And I thought he gave a really very subtle performance, actually. Like I thought Jim Caviezel gave a very subtle performance in this movie as Johnny Sullivan, and I like how his character evolved as the movie went on, especially when he starts talking to his dad back in 1969. Like you see his character, you see him as a character evolve and grow, and he almost starts to become whole again until something happens. So basically, Frank was killed in a fire. He was a firefighter. He was killed in a fire because he went with his instinct. He went with his instinct and he went down a pathway that took his life. After talking with his son Johnny and not believing what's happening, John pretty much says, "If you'd have just gone the other way, you would have made it." By Frank going the other way during the fire, he comes to realize that he's talking to his son in the future. And this actually leads to a great montage scene where they're pretty much just catching up with one another. And it's a really cool scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie. But by these two men changing these events, by Johnny changing the way his father died, it led to a chain of events that ultimately led to his mother now being dead. Now, throughout this movie, there's this underlying subplot about this Nightingale killer, and Johnny is on the investigation for it. But so by these two changing those events, the Nightingale, who had killed 3 women, has now killed 10 women, with the mother now Julia part of the victims list, for lack of a better word. So now the two of them have got to team up in the future and in the past to try and stop this Nightingale killer. Now, when you actually hear about it and you hear it get described, I mean, yeah, it does sound very convoluted and really confusing because hey, I thought this is just a movie about a guy talking to his dad in the past. Now you're bringing in a murder thriller. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much where the bulk of the action is pretty much the murder is pretty much the father and son solving this Nightingale case. The actor who plays the Nightingale, Sean Doyle, I think gave a very underrated performance in this movie. He comes across as just the right amount of creepy in a lot of his scenes in both the past and the future. I think probably my favorite scene with Sean Doyle is this really very intense scene in a bar where he and John are exchanging words, and John pretty much knows that Jack Shepard, the Nightingale, is the Nightingale killer, and he's pretty much on to him. So that's a really good scene. I thought Caviezel and Doyle played that scene really, really well. Speaking of also, Noah Emmerich in this movie. He plays Gordo, who is Johnny's best friend. I like Caviezel and Emmerich as a tandem. I thought they had in the few scenes that they shared, I bought them as having a lifelong friendship. Um, from a production standpoint, this is a really good looking movie. From a cinematography standpoint, I think this movie looks great. From a directorial standpoint, I think Gregory Boblet did a really good job. This movie does not have like outstanding visuals. It's not gonna like woo you with its visuals, but it's solid. It's solid visuals. Uh, oh, I almost forgot to mention. Andre Berger is in this movie. He plays a character called Satch, who is actually the best friend of Frank and pretty much Johnny's uncle. And in the future, in the present day, Satch and Johnny are cops together. Pretty much, because Satch pretty much, was pretty much adored Johnny as a child, and he pretty much made him a cop. And yeah, I thought Andre Berger in the scenes he was in, I thought he was fine. His best scene is when he's talking to Julia in this diner while a Mets game's going on because Frank had convinced him earlier to watch the Mets game to prove that he's innocent of doing any crimes. Because there's a section of the movie where Frank is being framed for the Nightingale murders, and I would have done without that. I really didn't need it. I did not need it. I would have done without the whole frame job. It takes a good chunk. It takes a little chunk of the movie out, and I think it slows down. I mean, I know what it's trying to do is trying to build tension and suspense, but I would have done without it. I didn't think it was necessary, to be honest with you. And not only that, even though I enjoyed Sean Doyle as a character in this movie, the whole Nightingale plot, I mean, yeah, it pretty much becomes the crux of this movie. I think this movie should have focused more on just John and his father reconnecting. I mean, but the whole Nightingale thing is just really something for them to do, and that's pretty much it. But it does lead to a really good climax where we see Frank in the future. He kills the Nightingale, saves Johnny, and then you get this very sappy ending, which I did not need in this movie. I mean, the ending is very sappy. You have like this country song playing, and you got John, Frank playing like. I mean, I would like listen. Keep the scene of them playing like softball, but take away the montage. Take away the montage and take away the country song, and it would have been much better. That's just me personally. Uh, so yeah, those are overall my quick thoughts on Frequency. I enjoyed this movie. I like it a lot. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I highly recommend Frequency if you've never seen it. Now I left a lot of things out in this review. I just covered the bare bones. So yeah, give it a watch and let me know what you think about it. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Frequency. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.